This video is sponsored by Mojang. Thank you. Earlier this month, I was invited to visit the Mojang offices in Sweden where a ton of very exciting things were happening. Not only were they recording Minecraft live, we also had the opportunity to have a tour of the studio, play with the Minecraft movie props, and get hands-on with the new, unreleased, and upcoming features for Minecraft. So, here's how it went. I flew over to Sweden. Actually, I missed my flight, so it looked more like this. So, we made it to the office. We head into the studios, which I haven't been to for 6 years, and things have changed.
It's a nice jacket.
We weren't allowed to record the whole place, but I did get a nice montage of the things we were.
He's so happy.
All of the conference rooms had their own names on the wall, and the walls were chock full of things all to do with Minecraft.
Creaking. Coffee.
Rainbow.
Reindeer. I've actually met this guy before. Dungeons. Gem.
Nice.
We even got to see some of the Minecraft movie props. They were incredibly detailed. And I even got a look at that mystery cube from the trailer, which has Minecraft writing on it. At first, the translation looks a little bit like gibberish, but if you go round in a circle, it spells iron, gold, stone, gate, head, home. I don't know if I've got that right, but that's what I saw when I was looking at this.
Even the size of it feels right. Like the size is pretty accurate. Figure actually does press.
After a go on the monkey bars, we were then led to a conference room where the game director Agnes announced something very exciting.
This, but happy.
The Happy Ghast. Please note that everything you see here is from a preview build and is subject to change. Agnes told us ahead of Minecraft Live about the Happy Ghast, a mob that you can ride and build on. And I got an opportunity to check it out while I was there. So what you're about to see are my very first experiences with the Happy Ghast.
So you get these dried ghast from the nether, and then for some reason related to lore, you hydrate it. 20 minutes later, this guy, wait, that's different. He's been cooking for a while, and he looks a lot happier already than this guy. I'm gonna go for it. Oh, he makes happy noises. I love him. I love him already. And then you can put yourself a harness on them. And then, is it as simple as that? And you dismount the same way you dismount a horse. Oh my goodness. Right, so here's the big thing. How fast do they go? About as fast as I expected. They're really slow, but in a good way, because this means you're able to build. Let's have a look. If we want to build here, tell you what, that is incredible for building. Okay, so I'm gonna have to get used to the fact that shift is to dismount, and also this is a flat surface, which is super useful. So I can just, if I need to, I can just hop off the ghast. So how do I go down? I have to look down. That's going to take some getting used to, I think. You can build for the first time underneath something. I mean, it's going to take some getting used to on the flight, but cruising around a build, it's a lot slower than creative mode building. Like flying around in creative mode, it's a lot slower. But this is very good. You obviously collide instantly with any block. So you got to be, it's got a bit of a finesse to it. We've got our Happy Ghast now. You can fire stuff, so you can have a fight. So it is pretty slow. It is like a hot air balloon, which is kind of what they resemble. And I'll be honest, this doesn't feel great, but just to demonstrate, they're pretty weak. Like I think probably 2 shots. No? Okay, maybe they're a bit like that was an unenchanted bow. So I imagine an enchanted bow, it's a 1 hit. I reckon you could probably. Look at that! The possibilities are, nope, yep, I imagine that would happen. I reckon you could make some incredible parkour and flight maps with this. Oh look, he's really happy now. He's been in the oven for a while. I need to check something. So these are actually blocks, so we could use those as statues. So I know this is a mob, but all of a sudden it's a building block as well. I think there's opportunities beyond just a statue. This singular mob has probably the most utility out of anything I've seen added to Minecraft in years. It's a building platform, it's a mode of transport, you can have 4 people on it. Oh! Look at him. He's actually small. So is it the snowballs that grow him? Oh, the snowballs grow the Ghast. And he's got like gills. There's actually some colour on the sides.
Okay, so a very positive first impression, but I had lots of time over the weekend, so I began to do some experimenting. First, let's go over the mob a bit more clearly. You can find the dried Ghast in the nether underneath fossil structures, or you can craft them with a bone block and 8 Ghast tears. You can place them down in the overworld and hydrate them with water. 20 minutes later, or a full Minecraft day, the dried Ghast will steadily get happier and happier. If you take the water away, the timer will work in reverse and it will become dried up again. After 20 minutes, it will turn into the baby happy Ghast. You can then grow them up or speed up their growth using snowballs, or just let them grow up naturally. You can also then craft a harness for them using 3 leather, 2 glass and a wool of your choice that allows you to get on them and fly. Now the big thing I think this will be used for is building. It's essentially a survival mode way of creative mode flying. So the first thing I did was try to make something random with a bit more detail than I did in my first impression. I was pleasantly surprised at how well it worked. The Ghast is 4x4x4, so it will bump into things if it's too tight. But if that happens, you can just dismount and use it as a platform to continue the building. So my verdict on the building, it's going to take some getting used to, but genuinely a game changer. And 2 extra notes is that 1, you can't place blocks on the Ghast even though it's a solid platform, and 2, they are unaffected by speed potions. The next thing I realised was, with a bit of effort, you can actually get the happy Ghast to sit in a minecart, and since the top of them is essentially always a solid platform, you can for the first time in Minecraft have a moving platform. So I tried to make like this little trial parkour course to jump across. It is a bit difficult, but it does work. The Ghast won't take you with it if you jump on it, so you have to be quick. Then the next step up was to have multiple Ghasts on the same track to see how well it would work together, and again, tough to make the jumps, but completely functional. So the verdict on the parkour? A new mechanic has officially been added for parkour and dropper games. So another thing I was experimenting with was I thought that the happy Ghast would be good for transporting mobs. Since it moves so slowly, it doesn't have the drawbacks of moving a mob via elytra. It's slow, but when you land, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that the mob doesn't die on impact, making the happy Ghast officially one of the best ways to move around a mob from one place to another using a lead without all the frustrating breakages that you get with elytra. So that's pretty much all the experimenting I did with the happy Ghast. There's probably some stuff I've forgotten, but I stand by what I said in my first impressions, that this particular mob and feature has so much utility. I haven't even scratched the surface, I think, of what people are going to use this for, so I'm really, really excited. So while that was the end of the first day, it wasn't the end of the trip, there was more things to see. But that night, it snowed in Sweden, and of course, that meant I was throwing snowballs.
I missed.
You're looking at a level 2 dodgeball coach. Back in the office the next day, I got to have another look at the other feature that's being released alongside the happy Ghast, which is the player locator bar. The locator bar is actually a fairly simple mechanic. Where your XP bar is, you have these little dots that show where nearby players are, and it's one colour per person. And the further away from them you are, the more translucent it becomes. This is a useful tool if you're on a realm or a world with just a few people and you want to know where each other are. But if it's not for you, then you have the ability to turn this off with a standard game rule. So it's another quality of life utility thing that's been added to help you find your friends much easier in the game. And I think it's also worth noting that when you crouch, you disappear from the locator bar, and also if you take an invisibility potion, you likewise disappear. The Happy Ghast and the locator bar makes up the content for the game drop that's coming later this year. But that wasn't the only thing they wanted to show us. In Minecraft Live, they also announced something called Vibrant Visuals, which is something else we got to have an early look at. Vibrant Visuals are Mojang's official answer to shader packs, where they're going to be giving you the option to improve the way that Minecraft looks. I was very fortunate to be able to sit down with Jasper, the art director at Mojang, and go through what he and his team have been working on for quite a long time. Before we dive into this rather long interview, I want to point out a couple of things. This webcam didn't work, so you're going to have to put up with a very strange side angle. And also, these microphones didn't really work, so you're going to have to put up with my camera microphone setup. And they were very clear that this is just the start of the journey and it's not attached to any one update. This is something they're working on in the background. It's currently on Bedrock, but they are working on something for Java as well. Let's get into the interview.
So I'm Jasper, I'm the art director for Minecraft.
So you work on all the textures for the game for how long?
I've been with Mojang Studios for 7 years now, and I've worked on the Aquatic update, Village and Pillage, and Never, Caves and Cliffs. I mean, basically every update since the past few years. Yeah.
And this is the big thing that you've been working on.
Yes, this is the big one. This is my dream, you know. It's finally happening. I'm so happy. Of course, people know like Super Duper, RTX. Like there's been many like projects surrounding this topic, right?
Yeah, it's been through a few evolutions.
Exact.
And we've landed here.
Yeah.
And this to me looks a lot like the key art that we see with Minecraft. Is that very intentional?
When we were looking like what should Minecraft look like, of course the trailers have actually been a source of inspiration, because like they have kind of like figured out how to make Minecraft look really nice. So there was quite a few elements that we wanted to just copy from the trailers, and I think that's really nice.
So what was probably the most challenging thing about making this? What's really been tough to get right, do you feel?
I mean, like a lot of the technical stuff was of course very difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about it because I just did the art stuff, right? I think like the water is one of the more difficult ones.
Water's always tricky.
Yeah.
From what I know about video game development, water is always tricky.
There's so many things going on in the water. Like there's volumetric fog inside of the water. You have the surface of the water. It has like normal maps. It has the roughness maps, reflections. Then you have caustics in the water. So there's so many different elements in the water.
Yeah.
And there's also so many different ways you can make water.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like the difficult one, and we still want to like make improvements to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say that because like one thing we were told very clearly is that this is kind of the start of everything, and you know, while this is like super impressive looking at now, it's still got some ways to go, and you know, everyone doesn't need to panic and say this isn't quite right or whatever.
Exactly.
So is there certain things that you're personally not quite happy about?
I'm very happy with how it looks overall, but soon when we go in testing and players get to play with this, I think we'll get so much valuable feedback. I mean, right now, like the water is a little bit too reflective. Like it sometimes looks a little bit like metal, so that's something we want to address already.
Yeah, I mean, I want to keep things really positive, but I think I agree with you. Like the water, it's really tricky. We said earlier, it's really, really tricky, and it probably just needs something there.
We have made like textures for every texture in the game, right?
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of textures to test and review and iterate on.
So just to clarify, for every texture in the game, to my understanding, what I've already learned is that you had to create another texture. And can you explain why and what that works?
We create this something called a PBR map, physical based rendering map, or we call them MERS maps, which stands for metallic, emissive, roughness, and subsurface.
Yeah.
This is like basically sort of a copy of a texture, but then it's like blue, red, and green in like different color channels, and it decides how the light behaves on the texture.
Right.
So if you go to the pumpkin, maybe you can see it if you look towards the sun, because it's like the sun hits textures, and then that light sort of reflects into your eyes, and then you have this sheen, or you have like roughness or something else. Like you can see in the grass here, actually, that's actually quite visible here. You can see there's kind of like a sheen there, right? So that texture determines that sheen.
And this changes as you go.
Yes.
As you move around it as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's according to like how light works, like the approximation of light, like hitting into your eyes and stuff.
So really, it's really quite technical.
Yeah, yeah. We've made so many textures and had to review and look at so many textures. Like surely we have missed a couple.
Yeah,
or something
right.
Like that.
Well, something is shinier than it should be, or something like that. Yeah.
And that's something we really want to have feedback on, because that's going to be there's going to be so much iteration on those things, because there's going to be a lot of people saying the melon is too shiny or something.
You've already mentioned the melon to me before already.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like with such a wide community, there's going to be so many different opinions. There'll be people that think it's not shiny enough, or it's balancing all that feedback must be quite challenging, right?
I mean, we get so much feedback already, and I think we're pretty good at dealing with it.
So, one of the big features isn't just it look pretty. It's the shadows. The shadows casting are actually quite a big change, and these shadows that are cast, you've showcased in these maps here.
Yeah.
They're so good. Like I immediately thought, like, oh, you could make an adventure map, like at 6 p.m. the very Lord of the Rings-esque, like it will show you the way to you have like a secret base, and it like has an arrow pointing at it or something like that. But the shadows I noticed, particularly on the player, are very like Minecraft-y pixelated.
Yeah, and they're also like on the grid of the pixels, so they're always like accurate to the texture as well.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, this is one of my favorite features. It's such a cool thing that like only a game like Minecraft can do. So it's very unique, and it's very it fits Minecraft so well, right? We tried like softer shadows and stuff.
Yeah.
But Minecraft, it needs this kind of like crispiness to it to like feel like Minecraft, and soft shadows just didn't really do that.
There's a clash of styles.
Exactly. Yeah. It made it feel like something else. So then first we tried like hard shadows, like just normal shadows that were like hard like this.
Yeah.
Like no softness, no like interpolation, whatever. But then we could actually just make them pixelated, and that's what we did. And then we could make the reflections also pixelated, and the acoustics in the water as well.
It's more complicated than perhaps people think, but I think the shadows hit that like Minecraft tick. It looks like Minecraft, it feels like Minecraft, and I think that's where inevitably people will compare to shader packs, but this is very subtle in the way it's done. It's like it's really Minecrafty.
I mean, I think people are definitely gonna compare this with shaders, and I think that's totally okay. I think that like all the shaders and everything else is still like a very valid way to play Minecraft, and we really appreciate all the shaders, and we want to continue having that like possible down the line. Like we want to support those kind of things, because it's just such a big deal. It's such a, I mean, we really like the ability for our players to have options, right? And this is just one of these other options that people can play with.
Speaking of options, I think it was said that this is something that you could turn off if you wanted to. Do you see a world where there's, like in the other options, sliders where you can just adjust? You don't have, if you don't.
Yeah, I think in the settings, we're gonna have the standard stuff, like you can reduce your bloom, you can lower quality for performance reasons, that kind of stuff, right? So there is some things you can turn on and off, like the volumetric fog. You can turn it off if you want to. But the whole art direction, we kind of wanted it to be flexible. So if you turn off the volumetric fog, it still looks really good. Like the sun is like one of the things that has the most impact in the shadows as well. So like some features, if you turn them on or off, like it doesn't take away from the core experience.
It's amazing how quickly you get used to this, because like we've been playing with it on. If I turn it off, quickly it very much quickly changes. I've gotten used to it. This now looks a little bit strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited. But can I ask about? I'll pivot to Java Edition quickly. So obviously you've been working on this, but you also work on the textures for the new drops and everything that's coming out. And every update we kind of see more and more colors added.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the big, we call it like the palette, we've referred to it as the palette. It's like the big spread of all the colors and how they connect. Do you ever like look at those and think about what colors are lacking, or how does your mindset work when it comes to the art direction, particular colors?
So we definitely always look at these kind of things, like what colors do we need. I mean, a good example is with like the mangroves, because when they first were revealed they were just like a wood color, and then community was like, you should make it like a different color, like red or green or something like that, right? So then we're like, okay, red is more fitting than green in this regard, so because there's actually like red mangrove wood or something like that. Whenever we make new updates, we kind of look at the opportunities we have from like an art perspective, like can we add a new sort of color in here? I think we did that with the warped wood from the Never as well, because it was like so strange to have like this blue wood, right? It was like our first fantasy wood, like it was not real based wood, it was like something else,
kind of alien-y,
exactly,
tealy color.
So that's when we had the opportunity to be like, okay, well, we can have like a weird blue wood here, and that might be really interesting. Recently with the Pill Garden, we added a resin block set, which was quite an experimental take. Like we wanted to have like this like very saturated different color to try and see like how players would like interact with that.
Do you get a lot of satisfaction when you see, like, for example, all the pale wood stuff came out, like the white wood, and it's so easy, like suddenly it matches with the quartz and everything, and do you see a lot of enjoyment seeing suddenly people building like these big buildings using those colors?
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly why we made the wood white, because we felt like white is a very popular color. It's also a neutral color, so it's very flexible. You can use it with many other blocks, right? So then we made it white, and then you can see that people can now utilize different blocks that haven't really been utilized before.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what we're doing.
That is exactly what happens every time an update comes out that just introduces a few speckles of another color. Suddenly all these other ones become viable as a something to build with, and that's so exciting when that happens.
We usually look at the community as well, like if there's any like stand out kind of requests of like, oh, we really need like a blue block or this kind of block.
Blue was the one that Pearl brought up. She was, blue's one of those ones that's like quite difficult to build with at the moment. But like as it gets very difficult to complain when they're getting plugged so regularly. Like suddenly we've got these really dark reds that look really great, and now the white wood looks really great. So is there are you allowed to say? Is there anything in your sights at the moment that you would love to plug a gap in on the magic block palette?
I mean, I think blue blocks is pretty interesting. But we need the right opportunity to add them, right? So, I mean, unfortunately, I don't get to decide everything.
No, and it's not as simple as, hey guys, I want to add blue blocks. It's like it has to. All the planets have to align, right?
We get the idea for a new update, and we look at all the things we want to add and how it ties in with the game and everything, right? And then it's like, okay, we're adding, for example, new wood. Okay, can we make it blue?
Can we make it blue? That's challenging.
And then it's like, does that make sense in the jungle? Like, so we really need to have like, everything has to like come together to like find these opportunities. So we can't always choose exactly what we want. So sometimes a different opportunity comes up, and it's like, okay, let's do white wood then, because it's more fitting with this update and these ideas.
Exactly. One thing we asked on while we were here was about dynamic lighting, and in some mod packs or shader packs, they have this ability that if you hold. I'm going to go back to the cave. If you hold a torch, it actually physically emits light. But we got explained like why that might not work, and maybe it's a good opportunity to explain why dynamic lighting isn't maybe something that can fit in what's going on here.
Yeah, so it's like this is going to be used by many players, and we don't want players to have an advantage over people that might not have compatible devices.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like this dynamic light stuff. Like it really influences the way you play the game.
Right.
Because if your torch has dynamic lighting, you can just use a torch and walk around a cave, and you always have light, right?
Yeah.
You no longer have to place it.
Yeah.
So, but with your friend that might not have vibrant visuals activated, they need to place torches all the time because they don't have that dynamic light. So it's kind of a deliberate choice to not have that.
It does make sense as well. So if there was like, say you were in this cave as well, I've got it on and I can see everything in here, and you're in there, you don't have the dynamic lighting on, then we would see two very different versions of the game, and then there's a disparity in that.
Exactly. I mean,
you need everyone on a level playing field.
I mean, of course, you're going to have some differences, like you're going to see shadows.
Exactly.
So if you create like a creeper face that casts a shadow on a wall, like you get to see that and others don't. But that doesn't make you have an advantage.
No.
So those kind of things are fine.
No. I when it was explained to me, I was like, yeah, that actually, that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, I really want to ask your viewers, like, what kind of colors do you want in the blocks? Like, that's something I really want to know, because I really want to gather that feedback.
Oh, you've opened the floodgates now. You've opened it. You've done it now. They'll be wanting every colour, more of all the colours.
But maybe there's like a standout, you know. Maybe we can make a poll. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, you've opened the floodgates now.
That's good. That's good. I'll be checking all the comments for sure.
So thank you very much. That was hugely insightful, and really looking forward to this.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And that just about does it for the Sweden trip. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly am so grateful for being invited and being able to do this tour and have a look at the features, and I'm incredibly grateful for the time given by Jasper and Agnes and everyone that I spoke to while I was there. I had a really wonderful time. And to see this out, here's a race between me and some friends in the Minecraft Studios.
3, 2, 1, go!
There's a corner, there's a sharp corner!